You're listening to RIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out RIARadio.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions, we have trillions with a T to lend. 844 we close, or go online at jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
Welcome to RIA Radio, episode 119 with Jeff Holst.
Part two.
Okay, Jeff, you finally got to have one of our famous old fashions. Coming from the podcast called Old Fashioned Real Estate, do tell us, what is your official...
Yeah, how's it stack up?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He's critiquing. He's looking at it.
All right. So,
he's spinning the cup. He's sniffing it.
Yeah. So it's a little on the sweet side.
A little sweet.
Yeah, but it's pretty good. I make mine sweet too, but like I order a lot of old fashions, right? And so when I make mine, it's actually pretty close to this one. And I think you're using Buffalo Trace. Tastes like Buffalo Trace. It's a good option. I usually do Woodford Reserve, but Buffalo Trace, good solid choice. So
I don't think we've ever bought a bottle of Woodford.
What I'm hearing is 10 out of 10.
I'm hearing 9.7.
Okay. All right. I'll take it.
It's kind of like dating. Nobody's ever a 10, or the highest score you can get, it's a 9.
That's really not true. If you're dating me, I'm a 10. I mean, like, clearly.
I'm just gonna leave that one. Let it die. So how was the trip in?
Pretty good. Drank a lot, so it's good that we're drinking at 10 in the morning or whatever it is now.
But we had fun though, because we went out for a cigar. We got to try one of your famous cigars, which we'll get into here in a little bit. And but after we went out for a cigar and drink, we go back to the hotel. There is an hour-plus long line sitting at the hotel to check in.
Truth, yeah.
It
was, and it
was brutal.
Now, what Ted didn't tell you is that he actually put the room in his name, so he had to wait in line. He couldn't just drop me off and leave. He had to wait to check me in. So I'm not entirely sure that I've ever stayed in your room before, but thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, he goes, Ted sends Dennis and I a text yesterday, and he's like, hey, picking up Jeff at the airport at like 11:20 p.m. See if are you guys up for an old fashioned or a drink after he gets in? And I'm like, dude, they make this thing now called Uber where they will come and pick people up and drop them off wherever they want. You don't have to. He goes, it's my personal touch that I like to get when I invite people in. So
in
it's
fairness,
concierge service.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, I did like kind of harass him when he suggested I take an Uber. I was like, no, bro. Like, you're picking me up. Like, I can't take an Uber. That I'm way too famous for Uber.
Our first prima donna guest. He had his.
I never suggested taking an Uber. Just put it out there right now.
All right.
I mean, I literally Uber almost every day in Puerto Rico. So yeah, no, I'm cool with Uber.
So. Oh, do you really? You don't have actually thinking about that because you spent last year how many days there?
Around 150, 155, something like that.
Yeah, so you kind of split time.
Yeah, I mean, I did 150-ish days in Chattanooga and 150-ish days in Puerto Rico, and the rest just traveling.
So you don't even have a car there?
No, I didn't even have a car in Chattanooga most of last year. I bought one in September. It's the first car I've owned in 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just Uber everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, I rented a car a lot when I was in Chattanooga, but it was getting expensive, so I bought a car. But yeah, and I rent a car like maybe 1 or 2 days a month in Puerto Rico. Like some stuff is just so much easier with a car, like grocery shopping. It's kind of annoying in an Uber, so I just kind of do that like once in a while. Or if I want to go to, like, I have a friend who lives in Rincon, so I'll go visit her and her family, and that's like 2 hours away, so I'm not going to Uber 2 hours. And plus, if I got there, I would never get an Uber back. So
how do you so what is the maybe since I've never been to Puerto Rico, have you, Ted?
No.
You guys should come down.
I'm down. I'm totally down.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I would do that.
Cool. What are you doing tomorrow?
Well,
Actually, I'm not going there till Thursday, so not tomorrow, but the next day. If you wanna
okay.
come down, we're
Hey,
there.
I'm liking the spontaneity here, though. I just have to sell that to some people.
Nah,
Sorry, Jen.
just show up. Okay. That's no big deal. I have a spare room. Whichever one of you gets there first gets it. Otherwise, you're sleeping on the couch.
I just keep on going back to the conversation. He goes about going to the bigger pockets in Mexico. He's like, I don't know why the big deal is. You just go do it. You just go do it. So just go do it, Owen. I don't know what the big deal is.
Yeah.
I don't know what the big deal is either. Like,
Forgiveness versus permission, is that kind of the thought here?
listen, as a recently divorced man,
Yes.
I can tell you that's not a great strategy.
So if you don't mind, I was curious about that. So you've newly entered the single world. Last time you were on, I think it was early part of 2023.
Yeah.
And we kind of drug out of you that, accidentally I did. I think we
Thanks for
accidentally.
that. Thanks for like sticking the knife.
Yeah,
out
I
and
know.
Turning a little bit.
So, how's your awesome marriage doing? That was pretty much how I teed that up.
After the podcast, I'm like, dude, seriously?
Right.
I didn't know.
None of us knew.
Yeah,
So-
it's all right.
Yeah.
it's
So
cool.
you're single
Yeah.
now?
I have a girlfriend now.
Okay.
Actually, so yeah.
Is she Puerto Rican?
No, she's not. She's from Chattanooga. Well, she's from Mississippi, actually.
That seems like a missed opportunity. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, she's pretty cool though. So, I was like going on dates with the Puerto Rican girls and stuff, but they don't speak English. It's kind of a problem for me. I don't speak Spanish. It's complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, you just learned sign language, I think.
Well, I mean, actually, they had these flashcards that had like English on one side and Spanish on the other. And I went out with this one girl a few times, and we would just go to the bar and drink rum and like guess what the other side of the card was. It was pretty fun, but it was a little bit weird.
And every one of yours was want to make out. Just keep flashing that till you get a taker.
God, I should have thought of that. That was a mistake on my part. But
I figure I'm catching up on my Spanish really fast because I have all the workers in my place. Nobody speaks English.
I thought he was saying he wanted to like date Puerto Ricans, so he was catching.
And I got the Google Translate app, and we're talking, he's talking, we're talking. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous.
Yeah, no, the Google Translate app is really good though. Like the interpreter mode on a Pixel phone is stupid. Like you talk to it and then just replies, and it's
It's gotten a lot better then.
Yeah, it's gotten really, really good. And if you get the Pixel Buds, like the earbuds for Pixel, like their iPhone, iPod knockoff, whatever the earphone thing is, I don't know because I don't buy Apple products, but if I did, it would be for the earphone things. What do they call those things?
AirPods.
AirPods. Yeah, that's the word. This is the problem with drinking at 10 in the morning. You can't remember simple things like
Details.
AirPods.
Or the fact we're running on like 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, well, there is that too. Although I slept longer than you. You got up pretty early, I think.
Yeah, I got up at 6. I went to bed about 2:30. Got up at 6.
Yeah, I went to bed at like 3:30 because by the time I checked in and like chill out at the hotel for a minute, it was 3:30. That's the problem with that. But yeah, anyway, so the cool thing about the earbuds is like they will translate real time for you, so you can just listen to people talk in Spanish and it will translate into your ear in English.
I need that.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking cool.
And this is an AirPod thing?
Yeah, no, it's the Google version.
Okay.
The Google Buds, yeah. They have real-time translation. You have to have a Pixel phone and Google earbuds.
I almost want to buy that just for that because I'd love to go into construction sites and just hear what the guys are saying and then not tell them I have that in my ear.
You're like, no habla inglés, and then you just hang out and listen to them, like linger around, act like you're on your phone.
They're going to be
Yes.
like...
See what kind of shit they're talking about.
Ted's kind of crappy.
Yeah.
Like, we don't like him, whatever. And
Oh,
you're just gonna be
Gringo's back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but yeah. So no, it's been all right. Like the being single for a while was really weird because I hadn't dated in 20 years, right? And I had all this travel planned, and like a lot of it was with my ex, and so I was like, whoa, I have this stuff paid for. Like I got to find people to like take with me. So that was kind of weird but fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, have you dialed back your travel in the last year, or did you hit it pretty hard again?
Last year I traveled a ton. I kind of went like, well, if I'm suddenly single, I might as well do everything I've ever wanted to do, and spent like 10 times as much as I normally do. So now I have to go back to work at some point, make some money.
Well, right after Sarah Weaver presented here, I saw you guys hanging out.
Yeah.
Was that in
Oh,
the
no
article?
kidding?
Yeah. So Sarah and I both spoke at an event in Cabo, like maybe a month ago now. I guess it was, about a month ago. And she's cool. I met her in Cabo. I didn't know her before that, but But yeah, and then I told her, like, she was asking me something about Puerto Rico, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna be in Omaha. And she's like, I was just in Omaha. I love Omaha, and I'm like, okay, you're weird, but because Omaha's all right. I mean, I've been here for half a day, so.
Well, he lives in Iowa technically, so.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
Yeah, Iowa's better for real. Yeah.
Not the parts he lives in.
oh whatever.
I mean, listen, all I know is I grew up in the Midwest, right? Like in Michigan. And I'm not a Michigan fan because, just in case anyone's wondering, I went to Michigan State for law school. But one thing I like about Iowa and Nebraska is they're in the Big Ten, so it's fine. You guys are cool. Cool with me because you're in the Big Ten.
We just got in there, so Nebraska's just.
I mean, just got in there like 15 years ago or
Has it been-
20 years
has it
ago.
been-
That's been a while.
It's been
Has
a
it been
while.
that long?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Man, if I had to guess, I would have said like 5 or 6, but that.
No, I would definitely say that it was at least 15 years ago. at this
Holy
point,
moly,
yeah.
where does the time go?
yeah.
It was definitely like late 90s, early 2000 range, something like that. Yeah, it might be 20 years ago now.
No.
So you met Sarah in Cabo, and you guys were both speakers. How did you like? Are you getting invited to a lot of speaking engagements, or how often does that happen for you? I'm curious. With somebody worldly and famous like you are, how often you get hit up?
Yeah, I know. Honestly, I forgot to tell you guys. You owe me like $1 million because it's my new speaking fee.
Oh, it is?
So,
Okay.
Yeah, just send it over. I take crypto also.
Hey, we will give you a RIA Radio IOU, and that's as good as cash.
That you know what?
And our famous old fashions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know what? This old fashioned is worth at least $1 million. So we're calling it even
perfect.
right now.
And we have the perfect ice cube and everything. By the way, Huskers joined in 2011.
Okay, but that was still like 15 years ago almost.
I mean, he was closer than you.
13, yeah.
13 is pretty closer to 15.
You know, when he
Five.
fact checking you, right on air
like,
here.
He's like, oh, I'm gonna Google it right now.
When you start getting our ages, the years start blending. 5 can be 10 or 15, right, Owen?
Oh, I don't know,
look-
Ted. Are you lumping yourself in with me now?
Yeah.
All I know is you guys are way older than me.
Okay.
I actually that's probably not true, but whatever. No, so the answer to your question, the number of speaking engagements a year, it depends. Before COVID, I was just starting with speaking, and I did several in 2019, and then I didn't do any obviously in 2020, 2021. Well, I did one in 2020, but it was like February or March or something like that, and I didn't do any for a long time. I just got back to speaking probably a year ago. So I don't really know how many, but last year I did like 6 or 7, so one every other month or so.
Now, when you go, I'm curious. So I have a buddy of mine and business partner who he's been getting invited to more and more, and he just spoke at like an investor group in Wisconsin. He's doing one in Denver. This is Colin, and we were talking about. I was like, "How?"
I got him scheduled in 2 months to speak.
Yeah, and I was talking to him about like what he's doing for preparation and like did he change anything? We talk a lot about the kind of like the mechanics of it because that's what you don't see. There's the behind the scenes stuff that you have to do to prep to go up on stage in front of a bunch of people. What do you have a process for that? Do you do a similar presentation each time, or like how? Like maybe give us a peek on your approach here.
Yeah, so the first time I ever spoke was in Oklahoma City, right? And I wrote a presentation and practiced it a whole
Why
bunch of
Oklahoma
times.
City? That
I don't
seems
know.
random.
Some guy invited me to speak.
Okay.
I might as well show up and do it. I don't
Fair
know.
enough.
It sounded cool. It was the first time I had spoke since my law school graduation, so I was really nervous, and they had me go on at like 11 o'clock in the middle of a 2-day event, right? The second day of a 2-day event at 11 o'clock in the morning, right before lunch, right? Like everyone's like, I'm like, oh, great, perfect timing, and for an hour. And I'd never spoken for more than like 10 minutes in my life, right? And I was like, I'm gonna figure something out. So I made this whole presentation, background, all that stuff. And honestly, like it went so well that I use a lot of elements of that talk still. And I've kind of created like modules. So like if I get up tonight, right, and I'm talking and like somebody asks a question about cap rates, let's say, I can just like go into like this whole like almost like memorized but not quite memorized prepared talk about cap rates for like 10 minutes because I create these modules where it's like I know I can present on this, and sometimes it's like kind of like, okay, I have 30 minutes or I have 60 minutes, whatever. So if it's 30 minutes, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to talk about my like history and background in my book for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to talk about cap rates, and that's it. And then I don't have to think about it because I already have those 2 talks prepared, and I mix them up. And so I just kind of just kind of shift around like different pieces. It's kind of like plug and play, like puzzle pieces. But then when I went to Cabo, I was like, I need a whole new speech. So I'm on the plane on the way to Cabo, and I'm drinking like Bloody Marys or something, and I take out index cards, right, that I had in my bag for flashcards for learning Spanish. I make index cards, so I had like a pack of index cards in my bag, and I start writing notes on index cards. And the morning of my speech in Cabo, and it went so good. I really love how the speech turned out. I had like 9 index cards, and I was moving them around, like which one do I want to do where, and then I put them in my pocket and just got up without a presentation and just talked for 90 minutes. And it was probably the best talk I've done. So like now I've probably ruined myself for tonight by bragging about my last speaking engagement. But yeah, no, I just kind of like the last few, I've just kind of like try to mix it up and just talk about whatever I happen to have on my mind. And it's been going really well. So.
Well, you and I talked about this last night. We had a speaker, which I think was one of the best speakers we had as far as presentation goes, was Jeff Cohn. And then I asked him for his advice on speaking. And in the end, he's like, "Hey," he goes, he had a speech maker make his presentation, and then he just had segments where he just replaced for parts of town that he was in. And then he did have a slideshow, and then then he went in and took pictures of each individual seated before they went in, and then put those pictures from the city in to really personalize it. And he's like, yeah, but I practiced it over 100 times before I did it the first time. He's like, and now I get $40,000 to go speak at nationwide. And he goes, I just do the same presentation over and over. And if I go back next year, he goes, half the to the rooms is different. They have no idea.
Well, and that's obviously I'm not getting $40,000. I mean, I got $1 million, but then I traded it for an old fashioned today, the most expensive drink ever. But like
American Airline tickets.
That's true. I got American Airlines. I can't believe you put me on American. Like, if American Airlines is listening, you guys did all right. So congratulations on that. But
sounds like an endorsement to me.
Yeah, it was all right. but I mean, I fly Delta multiple times because going back and forth to Puerto Rico, I had to pick an airline, and in Chattanooga, you have three options. You can fly United, American, or Delta. That's it, right? That's it. Most places in the country, you might have Southwest or Allegiant or something, but those don't have enough routes for what I needed. United wanted to route me through Chicago to go to San Juan, and that's the opposite way, so that was out right away. So it was going to be either Charlotte to San Juan or Atlanta to San Juan, American or Delta, and I flew both a couple times and realized that American sucked. So I stuck with Delta, and now I pay more for a flight. So it's a trade-off, right? It's more expensive. But
now you always get the screens in the back of the headrest.
It's true, yeah. Like last night, I took a picture on the phone. I mean, I was in first class because, this guy didn't spring for first class, so I had to upgrade myself. And I was sitting in first class, and I'm like, there's not even a screen in first class. Like, it's a 2-hour flight, and they don't have a television screen on either of the flights. Like, I flew to Dallas and then Dallas to here, and I was like, and the flight from Dallas to here, they'll have a little thing you can put your phone in, and it clips your phone in the back of the seat. And I was like, well, I guess, but what if you don't have a cell phone? And then I remembered nobody doesn't have a cell phone, so it's probably fine. But, their Wi-Fi doesn't work very well either. Like, Delta, you get free Wi-Fi now, but, apparently not on American. I got to pay $16 for a flight, so I just didn't have Wi-Fi, and I'm not used to not having entertainment on a flight. So I was like, guess I'm gonna get out the index cards and write a new speech, and that's what I did. So you guys are gonna hear a brand new speech.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Get your creative juices flowing.
Growth through adversity. Here we go.
It's true. It's so adverse to have to fly in first class.
Yeah,
It's so terrible.
Man.
Flying American.
Sorry you roughed it.
Yeah, I know.
We're glad you're here now, though.
Yeah.
I had probably 3 months ago, I think 2-3 months ago, I got invited to speak in Des Moines, Iowa, which is a couple hours from here, not a big deal. And I had done the same thing. I had a slide deck that I'd used a couple of times and I'd made changes to, but it was kind of the framework, right? And I was like, you know what? I feel like I need to just totally redo this and come, with fresh ideas and tell a new story and all that. So I spent most of a day creating slides in Canva and really putting a lot of thought into it, and I had it nailed down. I was pretty happy with it. I was like, this is really gonna, I think, go well with the audience that we have. And I get there and I'm like, hey, this is totally my fault out of all this, but I get there and I'm like, hey, Darson, who is the guy that puts on the meetup, and he's really good about organizing, and he's like Ted. I mean, he does a good job with marketing and all that. I think he's a really good version of you in Des Moines.
You just give me a compliment.
I think he said this
Anyway.
guy was better than you. Is
Yeah.
what it sounded like. He's
Anyway.
like Ted, only better. That's actually pretty sure that's what he was saying.
We get there, right, and it's at a new venue, and I don't know. There's probably it's not as big as ours usually is, but it's like probably 50, 60 people, which is fine. And he's like, okay, so here's how this is going to go. I'm going to have a mic. I'm going to ask you questions, and then I'm going to pass you the mic, and we're going to do it that way. And then we'll have Q&A. And I was like, okay, so what I just spent an entire day on, we're not I can't use it all. So I was like, that's my bad because I didn't ask him what the format was and what the expectations were and all that.
You guys aren't doing that tonight, right?
No.
No, that's too bad.
Ted
Yeah,
is.
that would be really fun. If you just ask me questions, it's easy. It's like doing this.
It's
right
totally
here.
easy.
Yeah.
You just show up.
Yeah.
Because
No, I actually love that because you don't have to think about it. You're
Yeah.
just like, whatever. I'll just show up. Because like the thing is, if you're like us, you're super prepared anyway. Like you spent your whole life studying real estate. Like people ask me real estate questions or mindset questions. I can just talk.
you can rattle it off.
Yeah,
no
just
problem.
spit it out, right? Actually, though, I had a situation where I prepared a slide deck for a talk in Knoxville or something, maybe like 6 months ago, and I got there, and it was a new talk that I hadn't given before, and I made these slides, and I got there, and they didn't have a slide projector. Like they were just like, no one's ever asked. I'm like, really? No, you have an event with 200 people at it, and no one's ever asked if you have a projector? And they're like, nah. People just show up. But then I found out they normally just like the people that they had speak at this event were normally people that went to the event. So they all knew what to expect and they just show up and talk. And
It was just
like,
normal to them.
Yeah, they just like they'd talk for like 30, 40 minutes and then they do Q&A afterwards. And it was fine. Like I got up, I gave a talk. People were like, that's the greatest talk we ever had here. Like, it was really cool. But I mean, it was a terrible talk. Like, I want to like lower my expectations for tonight. I'm really bad at this. You shouldn't have invited me. But I mean, honestly, like,
I deserve American Airlines.
yeah, exactly. I do. I'm definitely. In fact, on the way back, he's flying me Allegiant. I don't know if he told you that or not.
Allegiant only goes to St. Pete here 2 days a week.
He's making me stay in St. Pete overnight and then take an Allegiant Air to Atlanta and then walk back from Atlanta. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to rent a Prius.
What a nightmare the airport is, though, because I went and picked you up, and they're doing the whole construction.
Oh,
we had
yeah.
to drive through the parking garage to do pickup. And the police are obviously aggravated. They're just like, go, go, go. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never seen all this.
Airports are like that everywhere, man. That's just the thing with airports. But yeah, so like actually, talking about the like speaking thing though, the more you do it, the easier it gets, right? It's more about getting over the nerves because everyone's a little nervous talking in front of people. And so that's all I did. I was just like, I'm just gonna keep doing it until it gets easier. And you get to a certain point. Actually, like I think it was David Green on the BP podcast when I was interviewed on there. He told me like he was talking about this speech that Brandon had given and like how great it was. And then I was like, oh yeah, when I saw him speak, it was really great. And I was talking about that. And Brandon was like, well, those are the two least prepared speeches I've ever done. Like I just one was like. I didn't even know I was going to speak and I just showed up kind of thing. And I just talked for a little while. And that was the one I had seen. And I was like, but Brandon, it was really good. It was probably better than I've seen you speak elsewhere. And David was talking about having heard me speak. And it was the same thing. It was like one I was super unprepared for. Like they just put me on stage and I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to speak now. And I think that's where you get that authenticity is like when you don't really over prepare and you show up like, but you can't get to that until you get past the nerves. The first time you speak, you're like, thanks for having me here. I don't know why I'm here. I'm just like, thank you. Like it's really that bad. Like you're like afraid to talk almost.
I think of really effective speakers that I've seen that really can command a good presence on stage and grab attention of the audience really quickly. And the common thread seems to be they tell a really good story to start things off. Or like a funny one that's going to disarm people to make them more comfortable and the audience grabs their attention. And I think that's a really good lead in to what your content is.
So,
What do you think about
so,
that?
No, that's so right. So like when I was telling you the first time I ever talked was in Oklahoma City, and I was super nervous. And the last time I had talked before that was my law school graduation. And I thought, what am I going to tell these people? Because like, you know, they tell you when you're nervous, like public speaking, like there's this thing. You're like, oh, imagine everyone in their underwear or something. Well, like I have aphantasia, so I have like no internal visualization ability at all. It's a long thing, but anyway, so I couldn't do that, right? So like I can't see anything in my brain. If I close my eyes, I see nothing. But anyway, so like I have no internal imagery at all, and so you guys are terrible. But whatever. So I gotta relax myself a little bit. So I was like, I'm gonna tell a story, and I'll tell you guys, I've never I don't like it recorded, but I'm gonna let it happen because I assume the guy involved in this story does not listen to your show. For all I know, he might be dead. This is like 20 years ago, right? So they let me write my speech, what I could say whatever I wanted. I had a certain amount of time, right? But there was one thing that they told me I had to say before I could start talking, and that was I had to thank the trustee that introduced me. And I was really nervous, right? And then I read who the trustee that was introducing me was, and I just cracked up because his name was Richard Weiner. Richard Weiner. So I literally had to start my law school graduation speech with these words: "Thank you, Trustee Weiner." Thank you, Trustee Weiner. And so I told this story in Oklahoma City. I was like, listen, once you thank your Trustee Weiner, there's nothing left to be embarrassed about. So thank you, Trustee Weiner, for giving me this opportunity. and so that's it.
It's like you're thanking your own Trustee Weiner.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Thank you for bringing me to this situation here.
We just lost half of our women audience.
Well, listen, that's a real thing though. But the point is, I told that story. It relaxed me. It also made everyone laugh, and it set the tone for the whole talk. And I've had people like, no, that was in 2018, somewhere around there, 2019, something like that. I've had people like reach out to me in the last 6 months and say, hey, I heard you speak in Oklahoma City and it was amazing. And I'm like, that was the first time I ever talked. And people are like, it changed my life. Like I haven't had a bad day since. And I'm like, those kind of conversations are what got me to want to do this more, because I'm like, it makes a difference. It helps people.
I also think it helps to add a little comedy to your skit. If you have that ability to add some soft comedy, like Sarah Weaver brought the most comedy ever to a presentation, and she had the room rolling. But there was a lot of sexual windows.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, a lot of sexual windows. And it's different coming from a woman when they make sexual jokes. So.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
and then I think she had somebody that she was like knew personally that was in the audience from a dating site too. She talked about.
Yeah, that's awkward.
She's like, I didn't know he was there, but then I saw him and I just went ahead and went with the jokes anyway.
That actually sounds very much like Sarah, actually. So hanging out with her in Cabo was really cool, actually, because like I said, I never met her before that, but like she's fascinating. Like she does some really cool stuff, and she does some stuff that I also am doing. Like inside of Last Life Ever, which is a podcast I have in a Facebook group and a mastermind, we're working on creating a thing called the Adventure Club, which is like basically we take people that hang out with us in cool places, right? And she does something like that. Mm-hmm. Sarah does, and when I was talking to her about it, I was like, this is exactly what we're doing. Like we've done one, she's done 10 or whatever.
You guys should do a merger event.
Yeah, maybe. I actually
crossover.
Well, so I told her if she ever wanted me to talk at one of her events, I would, and she was like, "No, I don't have speakers." She's like, "It's just me." Like she literally said that, and I was like, "Okay, well, I was just being nice." And then she was like, "Well, maybe we'll see." So we'll see what happens.
But didn't you just speak at one of her events? Or
no, it wasn't her event. Like
okay.
We were speaking at an event for a different mastermind.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that was cool. I mean, like nothing against Omaha, but someone bought me a plane ticket to Cabo San Lucas. And we got to go on a yacht and stuff. So you got to move up your game. Next time I need you to invite me somewhere like Australia, I'll show up for real. Or Antarctica. I want to go back to Antarctica.
I can't guarantee 150 people in the room in Antarctica.
I don't actually care. So like I'll speak to just you in Antarctica if you buy the tickets.
Some penguins.
Yeah. I mean, penguins. Why? Hey, so random side note, I learned this recently, and it's a fascinating piece of trivia. Did you know that there's never been a case of a polar bear eating a penguin? Isn't that weird?
What? Yeah, why is that?
Well, because polar bears are at the North Pole and penguins are at the South Pole.
Oh, God.
It would have to happen in like a zoo or something.
Well, I'm surprised that hasn't happened.
Well, I mean, in fairness, I haven't actually fact-checked it. Maybe some zoo, maybe the Omaha Zoo feeds their polar bears penguins. I don't know.
You know what was trippy? One time I was on vacation to, it was somewhere in, I believe it was Mexico somewhere, or the Caribbean. But we were checking into a hotel, and they had this, there were penguins there. And it was 95 degrees. And in my head, I was always like, this just does not match up to what I was expecting. There were, right? Don't you picture penguins in the Arctic?
Yeah, it feels like they should have had flamingos instead of penguins.
Yeah,
right?
but no, they were there cruising around. There's 12 of them.
Global warming.
They clearly weren't native penguins. I'm just going to be honest, because penguins don't go that far north. I know this because I've actually seen the furthest north point that penguins go to, because I'm weird like this. I just do random stuff. So there's an island in Peru, right off the coast of Peru. That's the furthest north that penguins go, and the Humboldt penguins, they go there in the I guess the winter time to chill out.
Interesting.
Yep. But there it's 70 degrees and they're fine. So maybe they were the same type of penguin, they're used to hanging out in heat or something.
I don't know, man, but it was super trippy seeing them there in a tropical location.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, the penguins I saw in Antarctica seemed a little more authentic. I don't know, when I went to Antarctica, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. When I saw them in Peru, I was like, weird.
I've only seen him at the $100 zoo.
Well, I've only seen penguins in the wild on 2 occasions. One was in Peru, one was in Antarctica. So it's not like I've spent all my life tracking down penguins. So.
Well, for all fairness, the only time I've seen you on a podcast studio was on that screen over there. Now I get to see you in person. So
that is true. Although we met in the coolest way ever. I don't know if you know this, Owen, or not, but Ted and I met
Owen was there.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, geez, I must have drank more than I realized that night. That's true. So you do know that we met on Bourbon Street, drinking.
Yes.
That was a good night too.
That was a great night.
That was a lot of fun.
That's the first and only time I've ever been to New Orleans, actually.
Really?
Yep.
I went to Mardi Gras last year. See, I got
Did you
divorced.
really?
Yeah, so I got divorced, and I was like,
rite of passage.
I might as well go to Mardi Gras. Well, I have a friend who has a place in the French Quarter, and he actually invited me this year, and I was like, no, I got to go to Omaha. It's more important.
That's right.
That Tuesday was a couple weeks ago.
I know, I'm just kidding. I didn't go though because I was going to be in Cabo. To be honest, that was the real reason that I didn't go to Mardi Gras this year.
I had a good buddy, Marty McGuire, and he went to Loyola University down there. So I think it was 2019, 2020, or 2019, 1999, 2000, 2001, we went down to Mardi Gras down there as a college kid. Gosh, we had so much fun.
I bet you did.
Yeah, Mardi Gras is really crazy. It's almost too much though. For me, when you're as old as I am, mid 40s now and almost late 40s. I turn late 40s next month, but I think that's the thing, right? When you turn 46, you're late 40s. That's
going. He's a lot older than that.
Yeah, how old?
It's more of a mental space. I feel like I'm in my 20s still.
Yeah, well, so do I. That's fine. You look like you're in your something, but yeah. What can I say? Anyway, so I go to Mardi Gras, and it was fun, but I was literally man, I got to get out of here. There's too many people, so I'm looking for a place to get away from the crowds, and I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll pay a cover charge at a strip club. Because if you go into a strip club in New Orleans during Mardi Gras, there's no one in it because everyone's out on the street because people are doing crazy stuff, right? So I paid $20 to go in this club, and I sit down at the bar, and I'm like, this is so great. There's nobody here, right? And this dude walks up, and he sits down in the bar next to me, and he looks at me, and he goes, I follow you on Instagram. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, I follow you on Instagram. And I go, this can't be happening. It's the first time I've been in a strip club in 20 years. And I'm like, I can't believe somebody's recognizing me here.
My
I
God.
never get recognized anywhere. And I'm like, no, you don't. You're mistaken. And he's like, no. You live in Puerto Rico? You buy real estate? I'm like, nah, somebody else. He's like, no, your name's Jeff. I'm like, you're right. You win. Dang it. I don't know what else to say. I'm like,
you're like, I'll take awkward conversations for $500, Alex.
Yeah, right. And then I'm like, okay, so hey, great meeting you. And he's like, let me buy you a drink. I'm like, all right. Well, at least I'm gonna get something out of this. So he buys me an old fashioned because he knows that's what I drink. So I'm drinking it's probably a $50 old fashioned because it's in a strip club. I have no idea, right? And I'm drinking this old fashioned, and he leaves. He buys 3 more drinks, goes and hangs out with his friends. And the bartender says, "Are you famous?" And I go, "Yeah." You should follow me on Instagram. So she looks up my Instagram. I have like 30,000, 40,000 followers, something like that. So she's like, "Oh my God, you really are famous. Like you just got recognized. I need you to meet everyone." And she takes me around and she starts introducing me to all these dancers. So like I'm like, this is the weirdest experience ever. And they're all, so I have like, a bunch of like real estate people that follow me, and then like, 12 strippers from New Orleans. Those are my followers.
We need to take that clip and make sure you put it on. You put it on your Instagram. You just gotta say, "What's up, girls?"
I mean, it was such a weird experience. And like, I've only been recognized twice. Like in my entire life, I've been recognized twice from Instagram, and that was one of them. The other one was like 2 months later. I'm walking down the street in Puerto Rico, and this girl rolls down her window and she goes, "I follow you on Instagram," and I'm like, "Cool." And she's like, "I've been looking for you."
I've been looking for you.
I'm like,
Wow.
I'm like, all right. You found me. Like, what do you say, right? And she's like, "I came to Puerto Rico because I wanted to meet you." And I'm like,
No way.
I'm like, all right, cool. And then she's like, "I really like your Instagram stuff." And I'm like, "Thank you." And then she drove off.
What?
Right?
Okay, mission accomplished. Heading home to Stalkerville.
Yeah, no, right. So then she actually ended up showing up at this bar that I go to like a couple days later.
Because she saw it on Instagram.
I'm sure, yeah. Like on my birthday, right? Because I put on Instagram like I'm having a birthday party at this bar, and she was staying at a hotel close to there, so she came to this party. She ended up being really cool. Like we ended up drinking till like 5 a.m. the next day. It was cool. It was fun, but it was very weird. It was a very weird experience. So there you go. Now this is the most unusual podcast I've ever done.
The closest thing I ever got to anything that was when I did the nightlife sites. I used to run across followers, but we had MySpace back then. And
Thank you, Tom.
We got Tom.
Isn't that what the Tom was?
Yeah,
That friend,
yeah.
everyone's friend on MySpace.
Yeah, we used to run across people all the time. They're like, "Oh, I'm a big fan of yours," and I'm like, I take photos and post them on a website. But that was like the Instagram of the time frame.
But back then people you didn't realize that social media existed because like MySpace was like, and we had Zanga. Do you remember Zanga?
No.
It was like your personal blog. Like they were like, "Oh, you can have your own." I mean, it was like a precursor to all this stuff, and we would post the stupidest stuff on there, but it was so fun, right? Like social media used to be fun. Now it seems like a job.
Yes, you're exactly right. I remember when I found MySpace the first time. I think it was like 2007.
Yeah, so I was doing
2007,
Zanga in like 2004.
Okay.
Like it was like I don't know, you had to do like HTML programming to
It took some work.
Yeah, it took effort. You would put a picture in, you had to code it,
crop it and upload it in a certain format and all that.
It took forever to upload because the internet slow back then.
But I remember finding that page and I was like, "Oh my God, this is so cool." And you could look up your college friends or high school friends or whatever, and you're like, holy cow, like you can see everything they've been up to, because it's like if you don't have their phone number, what do you do?
Yeah.
That was like back in the day, you couldn't look up people.
It played as a dating site slightly on the side too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll be honest, like I love Facebook and Instagram for this stuff, like because I know what my college and high school friends are doing, right? Like I have people that I graduated high school from, and I don't know why I care what they're doing because like I never see them. But I think I don't need to go to a high school reunion. I have Facebook. It's cool. You know? But the really fun part about it is, for me, because I travel a lot, I'll just post, "Hey, I'm going to be in blah, blah, blah city." And people just show up out of the blue and be like, "Oh, I've always wanted to meet you." And that's really fun. So like, it's kind of cool.
Unless you're trying to be incognito and go to a strip club and then people follow you there.
Yeah, well, that, I mean...
Then it's
awkward. It's the problem with being insanely famous.
Yeah.
I've been recognized twice after all.
I feel like 2/3 of the people that I know that died, I wouldn't have known they died if it wasn't for social media.
Yeah, that's true.
What really bothers me is when I have to like delete people's accounts, because that in Facebook you only can have 5,000 friends. So when people die, I'm like, how long do I have to wait to delete them so I can have a new friend? Like that feels a little wrong, but like I really do. Like I'm like. That person I'm really close with, so I gotta wait a little bit longer on that one.
I always feel weird if you have somebody in your phone that died. Like I've never deleted them. Is that weird?
Well, the thing is, you can have as many numbers on your phone
Yeah,
as you want, so you don't have to delete them. It's Facebook forcing me to delete
feels
dead
wrong.
people feels wrong.
Yeah.
But actually, what's really weird is if you have someone in your phone that died and then you accidentally pocket dial them later. And somebody else answers, so that's why I delete those people.
Or because they're in your phone, you automatically get like WhatsApp pops up and it's like, oh, so and so is on WhatsApp, but it's really your dead friend.
Yeah. No,
but it's whoever took the new phone number over, and you have that saved in your contacts.
That happens to me all the time on Snapchat. Actually, like I get these By the way, for anyone who wants to follow me in the most authentic way, it's not Snapchat. That's fine, but you should go to Be Real. Have you guys seen Be Real? This is my new favorite social media. As long as we're doing
I've never
this.
heard of it.
Yeah, no one has. That's why I like it. Yeah. It's cool. So I actually first heard of Be Real from Brandon Turner. He told me he every time a new social media comes out, he always reserves his name. You know, like the like beardy Brandon thing, because he doesn't want people to take it, right? So he doesn't use Be Real. So if you want to follow him, it won't do you any good because he hasn't posted in 300 days or something. But you can follow me because I post every single day. I'm on a 28-day Be Real streak. Pretty proud of that.
Boom.
For real, man.
Yeah. So Be Real is really cool because it's a 1-a-day push notification, and you take a picture of whatever's in front of you and a picture of yourself, and they post it next to each other. And you can only do it once a day, and everyone in the whole world does it in the same 2-minute window, and the window's randomly assigned every day.
Weird.
It's like an instant, like you just take a picture of whatever's going on right now.
Okay, just to make sure I understand, is it Be Real, like the letter B and then REEL?
B-E, like B.
Okay,
like,
so be real, like be a real
being,
person.
Yeah, B and then real, REAL.
Okay, I was thinking of Be Reals, like you know what I'm saying,
it's
on
clever,
Instagram,
though, right?
Be Reals.
Because it's kind of like Be Reals. It's kind of like a reel. It's kind of like that, but it's Be Real, like what's going on right now. Huh. And of course, you can post late if you miss the 2-minute window, but then everyone knows you posted late and they shame you.
You get shamed?
Well, no, but I would shame you if you posted late on Be Real. You guys sign up right now. I'll send you my link. It'll be fun.
All right. Be Real. Okay.
Be Real, yeah. It's my new favorite
Fascinating.
thing. I've been doing it since October or something like that. Yep.
Okay. Be
No,
Real.
like a year. It's been a year in October, so it's been like 16 months, 17 months.
And is it like you can follow people and friend
yeah.
them or whatever?
Yeah.
So similar. You're on it too? So Mike, our producer here, he's on it. Like, how are you holding all this knowledge? We don't even know about it.
Yeah, what's up, Mike? Like, do you follow me on Be Real, Mike? I don't remember seeing your Be
He
Reals.
will now.
He's like, I'm not talking.
He's like, my mic's off.
He's like, I don't have. I'm just going to pretend I'm not
This
here.
wasn't in my job description.
Yeah, well, we'll just ignore him. He doesn't matter to me. He didn't follow me on Be Real. He probably doesn't even follow me on Instagram.
He's like, once all you old guys jump on Be Real, I'm out.
Yeah, he won't even recognize me at a strip club. It's unreal.
Oh my God.
Mike didn't realize he's like I didn't know that I actually have to come on camera or have to be on mic. So just heads up, you
sandbag
gotta
you with that.
gotta keep the mic hot, just in case.
Yeah, you never know. You never know when this guest. What was that? Were you guys saying at the beginning? You were like, the guest has this microphone. Like you couldn't remember my name.
That
I
was
swear.
Denless that said that.
Yeah, it's true. But you never know when the guest is going to be like, hey, what's this guy doing and why isn't he talking?
I mean, I'd be offended if you thought I would call you that after all the quality time we've had.
Yes. Well, in fairness, Ted, I forgot who you were until you invited me to speak here. So I was like, oh, that's the guy that hangs out with Owen.
See where it is. I try to say
this
something.
is awesome.
I try to say something nice, and this is what I get.
I paid him to say that.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm going to need another $1 million for
Okay.
that one. And that just means pour another old fashioned, really. So we're calling good.
Okay. Okay. So last time we talked on the podcast, it was around the same time a year ago, and
With an ocean background,
you had a
True that.
melted ice cube, if I
Hawaiian
remember right.
Hawaiian shirt,
Yeah.
flowered shirt. Yeah.
Nice.
and
You guys
had
remember it better than I do.
You had a catamaran that you were about ready to catch,
Yeah.
and
Sounds right.
Okay, so if memory serves here, you had a couple of pretty large properties, relatively, like it was over $1 million and then over $2 million. They were about ready to close on. I think you had them in the hopper to close.
Yeah, so those are the last two deals we did, actually. We haven't bought anything in a long time because the market's been weird. We bought a 56-unit apartment building in January of last year. So what's that, like 12, 13, 14 months ago, I guess. And then we bought an office building as well. And that office building has been really great, actually. Like,
no kidding.
Everyone's like, oh, I wouldn't do office.
Yeah.
I'm like, this thing cash flows. Like, to our LP investors, it cash flows north of 7% right now. And it's probably got, their equity's doubled. We're probably going to sell it soon because it's stupid. Like, but it went from 20% occupancy to 100% occupied in the year that we've owned it. So,
Well, that helps.
yeah, it definitely helps.
What
Owen's office building went opposite of that.
Yeah, exactly. Mine went from 100% occupied to 0% occupied because of
I'll
a
give
flood.
I'll give you $1 for it.
We'll trade an old fashioned for it. How about that?
Yeah, it's not worth that much.
Probably not. But now you were those both located in Chattanooga?
So the office building's in Chattanooga. The apartment building is about an hour from Chattanooga.
Okay.
An hour and 20 minutes. It's in Alabama. It's Albertville, Alabama.
I don't think we asked you this previously, but how do you approach property management on these deals that you get into? So like the 56 unit, for example, it's an hour away. I assume you're not driving up there and handling everything. What is that? What's that look like for you?
Well, that's actually the furthest away property we have, and we've had a tremendous difficulty figuring out how to operate it. There was an on-site manager when we bought it, and we retained her to stay there. But then she had some drug issues, and it wasn't working out very well. Like, she was doing a bunch of stuff that we really couldn't let her do. And so we ended up getting rid of her, and then we've had it needed a big renovation. It was pretty rough when we bought it. And so we actually have contractor crews that we have in Chattanooga, and we sent one of their crews and let them stay there and had them like renovate the units. And while they were renovating the units, they were also functioning as a management entity for us. That worked okay-ish, but we have pretty high vacancy as a result of that because they were just like handling like maintenance requests and like stuff like that.
They were stopping the bleeding, kind of.
They weren't releasing stuff for us. They weren't doing any kind of that. So we've had vacancy trouble because of that. So we're in the process of hiring someone local. We tried a local property management company. That didn't really work out very well. So that particular project has been a challenge. The rest of my projects in Michigan and Chattanooga and you know, all stuff within like 20, 30 minutes of Chattanooga haven't been difficult because my partner in Chattanooga owns a property management company. His management company runs it. And my partner in Michigan owns a property management company, and his management company runs the stuff that we own there. So that I've kind of like cheated the system a little bit by partnering with property managers. That's been really good for me. I don't think that works for everyone, but it works for me.
I have done that also. I have a business partner, or a couple of business partners that own a property management business, and like I just find the deal, and then like that's most of my involvement. Find the deal. Maybe I put some money into it, and they operate it. Yeah,
so that's kind of been my strategy too. Like, I'll find the deal. I might put some money in it. I might raise money if we're doing a syndication or something. But yeah, honestly, once it's done, they handle most of the day-to-day. I'm only going to be involved if there's like a giant decision, and that's, it's fine. I like that lifestyle. Like, that's how I can hang out in Puerto Rico and like, chill out and wait for sailboats and stuff like that. Which, by the way, like, side note, so that sailboat that I was going to go on last year when we were talking, that sailboat is owned by a friend of mine, and he owns a charter sailboat company in Puerto Rico. And we were talking one day, and he was like, hey, I can't buy a new sailboat because there's a whole bunch of weird rules. The Jones Act applies to Puerto Rico, and it's difficult to get a sailboat in the United States, actually, that can be used for commercial purposes. And so we were talking about it, and he was like, I think we're just going to have to build our own sailboat. So now that's what we're doing. Like, we actually started, we've negotiated with the Port Authority in Ponce. We've met with the Department of Commerce for the island. We've got special tax credits that have been allocated to us, and we're going to build sailboats, catamarans, for the charter market to sell all around the U.S.
And that's lucrative?
Well, I mean, I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you've been running numbers on it. So
yeah, no. So the thing is, the boats have about a 50% margin. So like, a $2 million boat, you have about $1 million gross profit. So yeah, it's lucrative.
And how long does it take to build one?
Not that long. We're going to build 15 to 20 a year, something like that. And yeah, so I mean, they're going to, the thing is, like, so like, not without getting too much into the weeds, the thing about the Jones Act is the Jones Act basically says any commercial vehicle that sails or goes on the water has to be produced by a United States company and has to be crewed by U.S. crew. It's designed to protect our merchant marine system, but it's mostly a wartime powers act, right? Like, the United States doesn't want to be in a situation where there are no shipbuilders in the U.S. They didn't want to export it all to various countries around the world. So they said, if you want to use a boat for commercial purposes, it has to be made in the U.S. No exceptions.
Interesting.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They should apply the rule to a handful of other things also.
Well, probably, but this is a rule. It's been in place since like the 50s, maybe 40s. I mean, it's a long time, and it's a pretty decent act in a lot of ways. But there's some consequences because there's some other stuff in there that's kind of garbage and negatively impacts Puerto Rico, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands. For shipping lanes and stuff like that. But the fundamental issue is there are no United States water catamaran companies. So like if you want to do a sunset sail in Aruba, it's easy, right? You want to do it in St. Thomas or Puerto Rico or Hawaii. It's not really an option unless somebody bought a custom made boat. And there are a couple of custom boat builders, but like our boat will be a couple $1 million. A custom boat takes 4 or 5 years to build and costs about $4 or $5 million. So we're going to be able to produce, multiple boats a year at half the price. And we're doing it because my buddy who has a charter boat company couldn't buy a boat. And we're like, well, I guess we're just going to have to figure out how to make our own. And then the government gave us a lot of really sick tax incentives. And they gave us a piece of land in the middle of the port for like $15,000 a year, like pretty much in perpetuity. So
I watched the whole thing in 60 Minutes about how there is very little shipbuilders in town or in this country. And the big shipbuilders, I mean, there's two?
Yeah.
That's it. And then you go to these other places like China, and their Navy fleet is just going bonkers. Like they're building ships faster than three times, 4 times faster than we can.
Yeah. But the one thing to keep in mind though with that is like one of them. I mean, I've been studying the maritime industry for a little while, as you might imagine. I mean, we've been in this process for 18 months and we haven't started construction of the factory yet. But one thing that's really interesting statistic-wise is, do you know what the second biggest navy in the world is? I mean, everyone knows the U.S. has the biggest navy.
Is it UK?
No. This is actually really surprising. The second biggest navy in the world is the United States Air Force.
Oh, okay.
You know what the third biggest navy in the world is?
Okay, tell us.
It's the United States Army, right? And then the fourth biggest is the Coast Guard. The first 4 biggest navies in the world are the United States, right?
I didn't know that.
And then the next biggest is actually UK. So you're really close on that, right? But the thing is, like, the shipbuilders in China are building ships that are effective at regional control, right? So their navy is big, but they have literally zero naval vessels that can travel more than 200 miles from China.
And
they literally cannot attack us with their navy.
And I think they only have like 1 or 2 aircraft carriers, right?
Right. And they have 200 mile ranges too. Like they have to be refueled. They don't have like nuclear powered subs and stuff like we have. So like, yes, they can build stuff faster than us, but our technology is so far advanced from them. It's ridiculous.
Theirs is like bubblegum and popsicle sticks.
Yeah. And I mean,
we're cranking out aircraft carriers.
Yeah. I mean, we can, a single aircraft carrier in any region of the world can dominate the seas, right? A single U.S. aircraft carrier. There's nothing that can compete with it. We don't need 10 ships. We need 1 to dominate a region, which is, it's kind of crazy actually when you think about it, but it makes sense, right? We spend more than the budget of most countries on our military. But yeah, so anyway, the Jones Act is designed to protect those couple of shipbuilders we have, and that's what it does. And as a result of that, there's this opportunity for us to build boats because, I'm sure the Jones Act didn't, when they came up with it, they weren't like, we want to make sure that we can make sailing catamarans for 50 people parties in the United States. That's not the reason that it exists. But
they weren't hanging their hat on that as
like,
the flagship.
In the event of a war, we got to make sure we have really good party boats. But it does apply to them because they're commercial vessels, and there are some exemptions that you can get, but then you're really capacity controlled, limited to 6 or 12 people depending on the vessel and the situation. And so like you can't just do those big sales. And so we're just, we know there's demand for it because we can't buy them ourselves, and we're gonna build them, see how it works out.